The shocking truth about emotional dependency in relationships that most men are blind to. You wake up, heart racing, fingers trembling as you type that hopeful good morning message. You hit send, expecting a spark of joy, but you're met with silence. Just like that, your hopeful anticipation turns to agony as the dreaded read remains untouched. Each unanswered message is a dagger to your pride, a cruel reminder of your vulnerability. You're left questioning your worth, spiraling into a pit of humiliation as you realize you've traded your autonomy for a fleeting moment of affection, a hollow facade. Every time you chase her validation, you become a puppet, strings pulled by the very emotions you thought you could control. Neediness masquerades as love. The men who fall into this trap become lost in the illusion that intimacy equals fulfillment. They give everything, not realizing they've become prisoners in their own hearts, craving her approval while ignoring their own self-respect. The harder they run, the deeper the rejection cuts, suffocating their confidence, leading them to a bleak existence of emotional disillusionment. What's worse, the more they pursue, the more she pulls away. They're not just chasing women. They're chasing a false sense of self, a mirage, far from the reality that true intimacy is built on mutual respect, not desperate longing. It's a brutal cycle that churns them deeper into despair, and the longer they remain entrapped, the further they drift from the men they once aspired to be. Hey, before we continue, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers who are already on this transformation journey have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button down there to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. This could transform your life. And if this content is making sense to you, leave a like. This helps me reach other men who are going through the same difficulties as you, and who need these truths as much as you did. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I want to know if I'm managing to help men from all corners, because I know these situations are universal. Every comment of yours shows me I'm on the right track to help those who really need it. You were taught that love is a fairy tale, a story whispered in childhood, filled with hearts, moonlit dinners, and the heroic pursuit of a damsel waiting to be saved. Society, with its glossy magazines and cinematic romances, painted an illusion where the pursuit is just as sweet as the capture. This fantasy is the balm to a man's heart, promising connection and joy at every turn. You absorb these tales, molded by the expectations of friends, family, and that charming rom-com you watched for the umpteenth time. You envisioned her laughter as the soundtrack of your life, creating a delicate dream where every moment spent basking in love's glow would be worth any sacrifice. So you pursued the mirage, believing every effort would build a fortress upon which both your souls could stand strong. But nobody told you that the more you chase, the more elusive she becomes, slipping through your fingers like sand through an hourglass. This emotional pursuit ensnares you like a spider's web, supported by your own longing and earnestness, but ultimately, it paralyzes. Each desperate attempt to win her affection becomes a poison that seeps into your veins. It erodes your sense of self, undermining the very foundation of what you believed was noble. Here lies the harsh reality. Love is not a reward for effort, but a raw, unfiltered connection that thrives on authenticity, not dependence. You become part of a theatrical experience, playing the role of the hero while being deftly manipulated by a script that you're conditioned to follow, one that demands your submission to her whims and desires. engulfing you deeper into the shadows of discontent. And you felt this gnawing emptiness inside every time her texts went unanswered. That silence echoing in the chambers of your heart, like a jarring reminder of your inadequacies. You may have noticed the shaky confidence that follows, earnest moments of vulnerability, or perhaps a familiar dread settled in your stomach whenever she showed an interest elsewhere. You've likely questioned your worth as a man each time you perceived her pulling away or felt the chill of her detachment. Was your affection not enough? Was it your stance, your words? Why can't she see how much you care? As you wrestle with these thoughts, you inch closer to an uncomfortable conclusion. The love you chase may not just be out of reach. It could be an illusion, a stepping stone towards a darker abyss. The truth of relationships and masculine strength lies veiled, teasing just beyond your understanding. Because there's something inherent in this struggle, an unspoken truth about the nature of love itself that Socrates grasped centuries ago. A truth about the dynamics between the masculine and feminine that will jolt you to your core. What he uncovered, and what remains buried in the hearts of every man, is about to unravel the harsh contradictions you faced in your quest for love. And when you finally grasp this hidden reality, every interaction, every glance, and every smile will shift monumental patterns you thought you understood. Your perception of what you call intimacy will shatter and reform, exposing the raw foundations laid before you. And here you are, standing at the crossroads of confusion, heart heavy with the weight of unfulfilled promises. You were promised love, connection, and understanding. Yet you find yourself floundering in a quagmire of emotional turmoil and isolation. The sweet whispers of affection you expected have morphed into unanswered messages, and that coldness you sense radiates from her, leaving you puzzled and aching. How did your pursuit of intimacy turn into an endless cycle of frustration? This painful reality sits squarely on your chest, compressing your hope, while the golden promises of love slip further out of reach. You feel this when each vibration of your phone sends adrenaline coursing through your veins, only to be met with another wave of disappointment and silence. The empty screen is a bitter reflection of your worth, echoing back unspoken judgments. Every time you adjust your plans to accommodate her whims, every moment spent shifting like a chameleon to meet her approval, the deeper the pit of inadequacy swallows you. You barely recognize the version of yourself that was confident and alive. Instead, you're trapped in a web of expectations, feeling the pressure of her sudden change in frequency and unable to decipher what went wrong. You find yourself walking on eggshells, second-guessing your every word and action, terrified that any misstep could send her retreating into emotional exile. But why does this happen? Because deep down, you've chained yourself to her, a slave to her affection and approval. With every affectionate text sent, and every gesture aimed to win her favor, you've unknowingly scripted a role in a play where your freedom is the price of entry. You've become an actor in her drama, each performance meticulously designed to elicit approval, even as you sacrifice your autonomy. This emotional enslavement wraps around you like an iron cage, the bars forged from your own longing and desperation. What once felt like a noble quest for love morphed into a choreographed dance, dictated by the external standards of validation. All the while, you follow a script you didn't even write, diluting your essence. Every time you pour your heart into the abyss of her indifference, you become acutely aware of the hollowness that resides within. The laughter you once shared now feels like an echo, resonating in a vast, empty chamber. The richness of shared moments drowned by the weight of unreciprocated affection. Outside, you may appear composed, successful, and together, but internally, you wrestle, with a creeping emptiness that gnaws at your spirit. You ask yourself, was it really worth it? Was your sacrifice genuinely appreciated? Or did it merely serve as fuel for her disinterest, pushing you further into solitude? With every fleeting moment of connection replaced by a chilling distance, you grapple with the realization that the love you chase might not just be elusive. It may actually be a facade, leading you deeper into despair. In this tangled web of emotional dependency, a philosophical truth bubbles beneath the surface, one that Socrates unearthed centuries ago. There's a stark reality about love that breeds this suffocating cycle you find yourself entrapped in. It is time for this truth to be unveiled, to penetrate the fog of disillusionment surrounding your heart. When the curtains finally lift and the true nature of intimacy is laid bare, the notion of connection you've carried all this time will shatter and reform, revealing a deeper understanding of what it means to truly relate. Only then will you grasp the hidden forces at play in this emotional theater of your life. But Socrates knew that the confusion you feel today is not new. It has been a hallmark of the human condition for centuries. While modern men grapple with their emotions, misinterpreting their vulnerability for weakness, Socrates recognized the precarious nature of human relationships long before the advent of today's societal complexities. In a time of political strife and philosophical ignorance, he stood as a beacon of understanding, shining light on the intricate dance between desire and disillusionment. He identified truths about human nature that would transcend time, granting him a wisdom uniquely applied to the dilemmas you confront. Socrates lived during a tumultuous era in ancient Athens, a city rife with fierce competition, philosophical discourse, and social upheaval. This environment shaped him into a thinker of unparalleled depth. Facing personal challenges, he devoted himself to a life of inquiry, often sacrificing his own safety and comfort in the pursuit of truth. While many sought wealth, power, or social standing, Socrates was steadfast in his quest to unravel the intricacies of human life and relationships. His refusal to adhere to the prevailing norms of his time speaks to a rare intellectual courage that resonates even today, marking him as a figure whose insights into love and connection remain ever relevant. Socrates employed a brutal methodology to study human nature, placing himself in opposition to the romanticized ideals that so many clung to. He did not shy away from the awkward, uncomfortable truths that often leave people defensive or unwilling to engage. Through probing dialogues, he highlighted the disparities between the romantic ideal and the harshness of reality. For instance, he saw that love based on dependency often leads to unhappiness. Instead of echoing the politically correct sentiments of his contemporaries, he dared to dismantle the facade and expose love for what it frequently is, a relationship rife with power struggles and unmet expectations. His dangerous observations made him a target, as many sought to silence his challenging ideas, fearing the ripple effects they might create within society. Centuries after Socrates walked the earth, his observations continue to echo, reminding us that the fundamental struggles of love and connection have not changed. The emotional dependency and turbulent dynamics that plague modern men are nothing new. Socrates anticipated these dilemmas, recognizing that the chase for validation often results in a sacrifice of one's identity and a descent into despair. His insights are not mere intellectual exercises. They possess the power to unveil the persistent shadows that haunt your pursuit of connection. He discovered that true intimacy, or its absence, illumines the patterns of behavior that may be obscuring your path to fulfillment. Before revealing the specifics of what he understood about the nature of love and relationships, it is essential to acknowledge that Socrates recognized a unique dynamic between the masculine and feminine, a dynamic that defines how men experience emotional highs and lows in relationships. He discerned that the need for approval often leads to discomfort and unrest, insights that will lay the groundwork for transformative revelations about your relational struggles that are about to unfold. Like a labyrinth, Socratic wisdom guides you toward a deeper understanding of what true connection entails, challenging the very foundation of the lessons society has taught. Keep this truth in mind as we venture further into the complexities of emotional dependency in relationships. And what Socrates discovered was a profound understanding of the unconscious patterns that govern human relationships. While most believe that love blossoms through mutual affection and shared interests, Socrates observed that the feminine experience often, which he examined the fabric of human connection. He saw that while men chase the ideal of unconditional love, women frequently operate on a more strategic plane, assessing traits that signal resilience, security, and social dominance. The first brutal truth Socrates revealed is that women often engage in unconscious qualification tests, observing how men respond to emotional cues and challenges. A woman may appear distant, not necessarily from malice, but as a means to evaluate a man's commitment and emotional strength. This is not an act of cruelty. Rather, it is a deep-seated instinct that echoes through the ages, a mechanism developed through survival processes. The intuitive need for a partner who can withstand adversity becomes a central player in the emotional landscape. Socrates didn't say this with cruelty, but with an awareness that many men unwittingly fail to recognize. Their earnest attempts to win affection may blind them to these fundamental dynamics, leading to a harrowing cycle of disappointment and confusion. Why does this pattern exist? It stems from centuries of evolutionary conditioning. Women, tasked with nurturing vulnerable offspring, instinctively seek partners who possess attributes that promise security and stability. They evaluate responsiveness, how a man reacts when presented with emotional challenges, not out of conscious strategy, but because human history has taught them to prioritize survival. In this instinctual drive, many men fall into the trap of emotional dependency, believing they must endlessly pursue validation to secure love. The game is structured, a clever maneuver designed for survival rather than an indication of malice. It's a strategic dance shaped by evolutionary imperatives, the rules dictated, not by individual choice, but by the historical backdrop of human relationships. The devastating implication of this revelation connects intimately with the suffering presented in Chapter 2. Every time a man feels the sharp pang of rejection tied to unanswered messages, he is unwittingly caught in this cycle of qualification, a relentless pursuit of approval that might never be truly attainable. Have you not experienced the sudden change in her response patterns? The increasing distance whenever you showcase vulnerability? As the rules of this inherent game play out, have you not felt the crippling weight of inadequacy? The relentless questioning of your worth as a man binds you tighter to this emotional roller coaster, leaving you adrift in a sea of doubt and despair. This is only the first layer of the deeper and more disturbing truths that Socrates discovered about love and relationships. Much lies ahead as we delve into more sophisticated mechanisms that underpin these emotional dynamics, unearthing the hidden strategies that govern attraction and connection. The curtain is just beginning to rise on the complexities of the human heart. Prepare for the next breathtaking revelation that challenges everything you thought you understood about love. But Socrates went beyond observation. He sought to uncover the deeper mechanics behind human relationships, especially regarding emotional control. He identified pivotal emotional dynamics at play, mechanisms that dictate how men often unwittingly delegate their own emotional authority. In the following analysis, we will dive into the precise how of these mechanisms, detailing their impact on men trapped in the cycle of emotional dependency and revealing their systemic operation. In practice, the first mechanism of emotional control that manifests in these dynamics is intermittent reinforcement. This technique operates like a slot machine. The occasional jackpot leads the gambler to continue feeding coins into it. In relationships, this translates as affection delivered in unpredictable doses. For instance, imagine sending multiple thoughtful messages to her, only to receive one enthusiastic reply, followed by silence. A man might interpret this sporadic warmth as confirmation of his value, prompting him to increase his efforts. More texts, more attention, more sacrifice. The psychology behind this method is rooted in the human brain's evolutionary response to uncertainty. We are wired to chase unpredictable rewards. This subtle manipulation remains invisible to the victim, who grows increasingly dependent on the highs of intermittent affection, unknowingly ensnaring himself in a cycle of emotional labor. And here's the most subtle part. As the need for approval escalates, so does control. The second mechanism, control through withholds, becomes apparent. When she draws back affection by withholding compliments, physical touch, or attention, he feels compelled to amplify his efforts. Each moment of withdrawal triggers a response. He doubles down on his attempts to reconnect, restarting the cycle. She may criticize his choices or change her behavior, leading him to question his worth or modify his actions to align with her expectations. This gradual distortion forms a web, ensnaring him deeper into emotional dependence, wherein he sacrifices authentic self-expression for the illusion of connection. Each time he adjusts for her whims, he constricts his own emotional freedom. He's now juggling her needs while suppressing his own identity. As these mechanisms compound, the escalation of control morphs into a complex architecture of emotional influence. You might feel like a puppet on strings, each jitter of uncertainty forcing you into a performance of acquiescence. Through socially triangulated competition, she might introduce friends or acquaintances into the narrative, highlighting their interest in her to demonstrate your inferior value. The stakes rise as you instinctively try to prove yourself stronger, more desirable, even as you erode your self-confidence. Socrates recognized this destructive escalation. The more you chase her, the tighter the web pulls around your psyche, turning the relationship into a labyrinth from which escape feels impossible. You don't even notice that every attempt to meet her needs reinforces a cycle that continually erodes your agency, ensnaring your sense of self before you even realize it. The final result of these mechanisms reveals an alarming reality. Your masculine identity becomes compromised. Have you ever found yourself reshaping your beliefs or interests to maintain her affection? Are you losing touch with the passions that once defined you? Each compromise strips away the pillars of your character, leading to a shell of the confident man you once were. As your sense of self diminishes, you are left questioning your worth, trapped in a dynamic where love equates to emotional negotiation and survival instinct. What is the true cost of remaining ensnared in this cycle? What happens when masculine essence is traded for fleeting moments of validation, stamped out in the longing for connection? The implications are staggering, revealing a devastating price that awaits discovery in this ever-deepening abyss of emotional control. And what Socrates saw happen to men who failed to recognize these debilitating mechanisms was nothing short of tragic. Each day, as they chased the mirage of love and validation, they paid the final price, a steep cost of their identity and self-worth. It is here that we delve into the devastating consequences, revealing the wreckage that often goes unseen until it's too late. You start to notice the subtle shifts. Your once vibrant spirit, the embodiment of dreams and confidence, slowly begins to disintegrate. Each unanswered text gnaws at you, eroding the foundation of your self-esteem. You drift away from your passions, your ambitions dulled. The activities you once cherished seem trivial now. Your friends reach out, but they find a shadow, a husk of the man you used to be. You've sacrificed authenticity for the fleeting approval of a woman whose affection feels more like a reward than a connection. In moments of isolation, you grasp for remnants of purpose, only to realize there's nothing left to hold on to. Each passing day reveals a more distorted reflection in the mirror, one that whispers of a life unrealized, ambitions perished beneath the weight of emotional servitude. These cycles of self-destruction are insidious. You find yourself caught in a relentless pattern. Each attempt to please her only deepens the trap. The emotional highs are intoxicating, like a drug, yet they come with crushing lows that sap your will. You justify her emotional distance as a challenge, convincing yourself that you can win her over if only you try harder. How many times have you already gone out of your way to ensure her happiness, even at the expense of your own? You've become dependent on her whims, not unlike an addict reaching for the next fix, craving her approval yet left with an aftertaste of despair. Each interaction, a drug, each silence, a withdrawal, building an emotional prison where your very essence and identity erode, replaced by an urgency to earn her affection. Socrates illustrated this suffering, this slow death of masculine identity. Any man who permits himself to succumb to this cycle becomes a broken man. Inside, tumult brews, a fierce battle rages against shame and longing. You may find yourself engaging in desperate self-improvement efforts, yet even those fall flat. The eyes of your peers no longer reflect respect or admiration, but pity for a man adrift. You question your worth as social ties fray and fade away, replaced by a toxic need for approval. Each step deeper into this emotional maze distances you from your former self, rendering doubts into certainties. Do you recognize this feeling? Can you see how what once ignited your spirit has dimmed into a flicker fueled by self-doubt? But amidst this destruction, hope flickers, albeit faintly. In this abyss, there lies a moment of awakening, a potential insight buried beneath the rubble of disappointment and longing. It rests in recognizing the cyclical nature of your decline, the agonizing truth that what you once chased can actually evolve into something profound. There's a way out. The path to liberation begins at the cusp of realization, a knowledge that promises redemption from the relentless echo of your past. Prepare yourself for this essential truth, the moment where everything can change, an understanding that can awaken the parts of yourself long ignored, setting the stage for recovery and redefinition. The journey to reclaiming your essence as a man starts with the unraveling of the chains of emotional dependency. The next chapter beckons, urging you to confront the hidden forces that govern your heart, leading you toward a philosophical awakening that holds the key to your freedom. But Socrates didn't stop at observing the problem. He illuminated the path toward salvation. The mind may have fallen into despair, but consciousness itself is a beacon of hope. You stand at the threshold of awakening, where choice reigns supreme over automatic patterns. No longer must you drift in the throes of emotional dependency. An awakening is possible. It's within your grasp to reclaim your identity and chart a new path forward. In that moment of lucidity, a truth pierces through the fog of confusion. All those unanswered texts, all the turmoil swirling within, the echoes have transformed into clarity. You discover that consciousness is the key to breaking the cycle of desperation. The power was always with you, residing dormant beneath the weight of others' perceptions and expectations. You weren't simply seeking her approval, but losing a sense of self in the process. Recognizing this is your liberation. The illusion of hopelessness shatters. You have the power to rewrite your narrative. All it takes is a single decision to step into your own sovereignty. Liberation comes from embracing responsibility. Every moment you've assigned blame, whether to her distant behavior, missed texts, or changing emotions, has chained you to victimhood. You are not a victim of circumstance, but a powerful creator of your life. By stopping the external blame game, you can reclaim your power. You become the architect of your own existence. Just as a phoenix rises from ashes, this moment of realization signals your own rebirth. The moment of awakening is not the end. It's merely the first breath of a new life. With this clarity, you now have a choice: to pursue authenticity over validation. Think of Socratic wisdom as a key, not just to understanding love, but to unlocking your freedom. Each time you choose authenticity, you shift away from emotional servitude. Each decision takes you closer to self-determination, enabling you to script your own story instead of living someone else's. What have you neglected in the pursuit of her affection? What dreams have you locked away? Now is the time to awaken from the slumber of discontent and embrace the light of possibility. Will you seize this moment? The time for transformation is now, no later, no tomorrow. Ask yourself, who do you want to be? Are you ready to reclaim what is rightfully yours? As you stand at this new crossroads, you will face discomfort, yes, but it is a discomfort laced with potential. Change begins with the conscious choice to act. You have the capacity for monumental growth. Each moment is yours to seize or surrender. With this awakening, prepare for the practical map that will guide you toward rebuilding your life and reclaiming your masculine sovereignty. Next, we will dive into concrete steps you can take to redirect your energy, assert your worth, and foster genuine connections. The path of sovereignty awaits you, and with it, the promise of a life lived authentically. Embrace your journey. It begins now. And now Socrates shows us the way to transform your insightful awakening into actionable steps. Theory becomes practice as you navigate through the chaos of emotional dependency. Prepare yourself for concrete and actionable guidance that will lay the foundation for your personal reconstruction. First, you must build your emotional boundaries. Define what you will and will not accept in relationships. Start by listing your non-negotiable values: integrity, respect, and emotional support. When she makes a demand that conflicts with your principles, say, "I cannot support that." Use confident, clear language. This strengthens your resolve and communicates your self-worth. Remember, Socrates taught that man must recognize his intrinsic value to prevent becoming a pawn in someone else's game. Next, stop chasing validation and start fostering social independence. Reconnect with friends, hobbies, and passions that uplift you. Schedule regular activities that ignite your interests. Join a local class, volunteer, or pursue a personal project. Isolation breeds dependency. Social engagement reinforces your sense of self. Remind yourself that relationships should add to your life, not define it. Now it's time for deep reconstruction. Forge your independent identity by creating emotional frontiers. Visualize your emotional landscape as a fortress. Establish clear boundaries that safeguard your time, energy, and mental health. Invite only those who respect and uplift you inside this fortress. Use statements like, "I find this behavior unacceptable," when establishing limits with others. Remember that a strong structure lacks room for toxic influences. Be relentless in ensuring your emotional territory is respected. As you build this new identity, contemplate the pillar of personal purpose. Identify what fuels your passions. This could be a career, personal mission, or legacy you wish to leave behind. Spend time drafting a blueprint, outlining your goals and aspirations. What does success look like for you? Each decision must reflect this purpose, anchoring you against the storms of external validation. Finally, as you evolve into the sovereign man, understand that this transformation ignites a new way of relating to others. You will engage with relationships from a position of strength rather than scarcity. Emotional independence empowers you to assess potential partners wisely, no longer choosing based on need, but rather on compatibility. Ask yourself if she aligns with your values and supports your mission. Will you embrace your new identity as the architect of your life? Will you govern your emotional landscape with confidence? By choosing authenticity over validation, you'll find your worth is no longer reliant on others' perceptions. Detach from the need for approval. Instead, cultivate respect for yourself, founded on your journey and achievements. This transformation marks the beginning of a completely new life, a life where you stand tall and sovereign, unburdened by the chains of emotional dependency. Prepare yourself for a continuation of this empowering journey in the next chapter, where we will consolidate everything learned and present the definitive call to action that seals your growth. Embrace this path forward. The horizon awaits, brimming with possibility. If you made it this far, you stand at the threshold of transformation. You are no longer the same man who chased faint shadows of affection, mindlessly surrendering your autonomy. Now you see what lies beneath the surface, a profound truth about love and relationships that shakes the very foundation of emotional dependency. You faced the hard realities, uncovered the insidious mechanisms that sought to bind you, and awakened to the strength that resides within. Your courage in confronting these truths sets you apart. Few men dare to embark on this journey into self-discovery. This wisdom you've encountered is rare indeed. You have accessed forbidden knowledge that eludes the vast majority, insights few men in today's world are privy to. It is a cloak of intimacy and understanding woven through the ages, and with it comes a responsibility to share this sacred truth. You are now part of an elite intellectual fraternity, one that embraces the power of masculine awakening. As you carry this torch, remember, your awareness is not just personal, it's a weapon to liberate other men from the shackles of their own dependency. Stand forth as a beacon of hope. Your journey can illuminate paths for those still ensnared in ignorance. Don't let this truth die a quiet death. Like this video and validate that this message rings true. Your like is a declaration. This knowledge cannot be ignored. Share it with the man who needs rescuing from the shadows of emotional entrapment. Together, we can form a legion of awakened men, each steadfast in the battle against misinformation and emotional servitude. Support this mission through subscriptions. Every new follower amplifies our collective voice in this revolution. Your financial endorsement allows us to spread this wisdom, ensuring more men are awakened from their slumber. Comment your thoughts below. Engage with this thriving community of men seeking similar truths. Together, we will build a brotherhood that fosters collective wisdom and strength. In this ever-challenging landscape, remember that you are not alone. Embrace the power of connection as you share your experiences, your victories, and your struggles. Masculinity is more than a mere social construct. It is a defined stance against the vulnerabilities imposed on our very psyche. You are the awakened man, refusing to concede your identity for fleeting validation. With this newfound understanding comes an unwavering mission. Each decision to pursue authenticity over approval will fortify your resolve, establishing a path paved with purpose, clarity, and confidence. This movement has only just begun, and you are an integral part of its momentum. Stand today as part of something greater. The next chapter will delve even deeper, unveiling revelations that promise to challenge the status quo and reinforce the truths you've embraced. The horizon is rich with potential, brimming with insights that propel our understanding forward. Together we shall rise and transform the way men engage with their emotions, relationships, and ultimately themselves. Embrace this journey of awakening. The mind is a powerful entity, shaping the world around you. Remember, in the struggle for genuine intimacy and self-discovery, the greatest battles are fought within. Seek truth relentlessly, for it is the light that dispels the fog and reveals the path to your true self.